What's going on, everyone? This is Brett Darian, and today we're going to be talking about the Sega Dreamcast. Specifically, how to get the best video quality out of your Sega Dreamcast. Because the Dreamcast, I hope some of you are still playing it today, because the Dreamcast is still an awesome system, lots of great games. So we want to figure out how to make them look the best. Now, I just want to go through briefly the traditional ways of hooking up a Sega Dreamcast. First, we have the traditional composite cables. These are the yellow, white, and red cables. The yellow is for video, and white and red is for your audio. This is how most people probably hooked up their Sega Dreamcast to their TVs, at least years ago. And then if you wanted to upgrade from there, you had S-Video cables. Now, on these particular cables, the S-Video connector is still yellow, but on some of them they were black or other colors. But still the same connector. S-Video has like 4 little pins that hook into your TV. This is an older connection now, so pretty much no modern TV has S-Video connectors on. In fact, they might even have composite anymore. But S-Video did offer a slight improvement over composite because it separated the video signal into 4 separate pins, so it made the image a little sharper. Now, if you wanted better video quality than that, the Dreamcast also offered VGA, or as it's properly called, D-Sub. D-Sub is the actual proper name of the connector, but we just called it VGA for short. So this is an example of a VGA adapter. You plug it into the back of your Dreamcast, the same port that's used for these cables here, because the Dreamcast only has one video out port. And again, this is one example of a VGA box. This is a Kuro VGA box from the Bahar Bros, but there are many other VGA boxes out there. But this is the D-Sub connector here. And VGA was traditionally used for like older computers. Older computer monitors traditionally use this VGA port. And you could use that for the Dreamcast, and you would get 480p progressive video out of the Dreamcast, which looked really, really good. But this isn't very convenient to use today because a lot of new TVs now don't have VGA inputs on them. Some older LCD panels did, but nowadays really nothing uses VGA anymore. You would have to either go out your way to find an older computer monitor that has VGA on it, or an older TV that has VGA on it, or there's also, of course, various adapters and converters. You can convert this to component or something. If you want to do all that, you could, but I prefer it to be simpler. So the other option is actually to use SCART, and I do have a SCART cable here. This is from RetroAccess.com. Now, if you don't know what SCART is, the basic explanation of it is that SCART is a video connection interface that was really only used in Europe. And one of the big benefits of using SCART was that you could use SCART to tap into the pure RGB video signal that a lot of older game consoles offered, like the Sega Dreamcast, the Sega Genesis, and the Super Nintendo, and the Nintendo 64 even had RGB with modification. And if you want to see a video on that, by the way, there should be a link up here, I think. I'll have a link to that video up there, because I did mess with SCART years ago, and then I also messed with RGB on Nintendo 64. So if you want to see a video on that, there should be a link up there. But anyway, yeah, so SCART. Now, traditionally, since we never got SCART here in North America, if we wanted to use SCART, we had to get various adapters or converters that would convert this to components, which is the red, green, and blue video leads. Just like these, only instead of being yellow, there'd be 3 of these, red, green, and blue. That's component. And there was a company called HD Retrovision that made these specific cables that would hook in to the back of the console, whether it be the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation, whatever. There would be component cables you could hook into the back of those systems, and without using SCART, it would still hook into the, it would still grab the RGB signal, and you would be able to play your game consoles with RGB video quality on your American TV that has component inputs. Now for years now, HD Retrovision has said they were going to make component cables for the Sega Dreamcast, so it can tap into the VGA signal. So instead of using a VGA box to hook into the VGA signal, you could just use component cables, because like I said, using VGA now is not very convenient anymore. So for years now, they've been saying they were going to have component cables for the Dreamcast, but there still haven't been any updates on those. So it's been a couple years now, and as far as I'm aware, there have been no updates. Now, they probably will still come out at some point, but it's been a very long time waiting, and I was looking for an alternative. So one alternative to that is you can use these SCART cables. Now, it still leaves you the problem with, well, this is SCART, and here in North America, we never had TVs that had SCART inputs. So these cables, I think, were really designed to be used with either an adapter, converter, or a video scaler, like this, the RetroTINK 5X. I picked this up a few months ago. I did a video on it. Well, that actually may have been last year sometime. But yeah, I picked this up and made a video on it. It's a very, very good scaler. This will upconvert all your older video game systems and stuff up to 1080p, even beyond that, using either component input or S-Video, or even, yes, SCART. The side of the box does have a SCART input. Now, I actually didn't even have any intentions of using this port, but now that I have this, I can just plug it right in, and now I have a way to basically upscale this SCART to HDMI. So that's awesome. So we're going to hook this up and see how it looks, and spoiler alert, it looks really, really good. Now before I do that though, I just want to briefly explain that these SCART cables do come from retroaccess.com, but they're in really limited supply. And I would imagine that if and when component cables come out from the Dreamcast, they will probably also be in very limited supply, and they'll be expensive, and you might have to wait a while to get them. So these are available for a pre-order on retroaccess.com, but only during certain times. Now, as of the filming of this video, the next pre-order window is going to open sometime in early June. So keep checking back to the website and get your pre-orders in quickly, because when I pre-ordered mine back in March, I pre-ordered it like right at midnight, and they said they were going to have pre-orders open all day for 24 hours, but shortly after, they were already sold out. So again, these are in limited supply, probably going to be hard to get. So if you do want one, go on their website and check them out. And whenever the pre-orders first open up, go ahead and get them and grab them. They cost anywhere from probably around $50, maybe give or take a few bucks, depending on what length of cable you get. So anyway, yes, so that's the SCART cables. So let's hook all this up and let's see how it looks. Alright, now for the fun part. Now we get to see what SCART actually looks like. Now I'm going to start off though by showing you what composite looks like. So this is composite coming straight out of the Dreamcast, going right to my capture device. And it looks pretty much how you'd expect it. It's kind of blurry. It's a little fuzzy around the edges, a little rainbowing, a little artifacting going on. But I mean, if this is all you had back in the day, this worked. And you were probably happy with it too, if you weren't aware there were better alternatives. But of course now we know that there are better ways to get video out of your Dreamcast, and that's what we're here for. But before I show you what SCART looks like, I just want to say that I would show you what S-Video looks like too,
But unfortunately, the S-video cables that I showed you do not work anymore, apparently, because I've tried hooking them up to various devices and TVs, and I get no video signal from the S-video cable. So apparently my S-video cables that I've had for a good number of years now just stopped working, so I guess that's possible to happen. And I also would show you what VGA looks like, pure VGA, but none of my capture devices that I have now have any VGA inputs, so that goes back to the point I made about VGA just not being very convenient to use today. So with that, unfortunately, this is all I can show you. It's just how composite looks like, and I will show you now what the SCART looks like. So we'll go right to that right now. And just look at this. I mean, look how much better this looks. This looks amazing. It's so much sharper. The colors really pop. It looks really good. Now, do you remember what the composite looked like? I'm going to show you right now what composite looked like. Okay, so that's composite. That's the title screen and composite. Now I'm going to show you what the VGA looked like with SCART. I mean, look at that. What a difference. That just looks amazing. So this just looks so cool. Here's a little clip of Sonic Adventure being played. Well, a little demo of the game being played in through SCART. And now keep in mind, though, that this is going through the RetroTINK. So the RetroTINK is upscaling this to 1080p. And it's also doing its own, like, cleaning up and stuff. So this looks even better than, I think, just hooking the SCART cable directly up to a TV that has a SCART input. This looks even better than that. Now, if the colors look a little too saturated, that could be something that you can adjust in your display settings or your capture settings if you're capturing this on a PC like I am. Now, there is one more thing that I wanted to show you, and that is how Hydro Thunder looks with the SCART cables. And once again, I must say how beautiful this looks. I mean, this is a brighter image, so you really get to see how loud the colors pop and the contrast and the overall brightness. And yeah, I just can't commend these cables enough for how amazing they make the Dreamcast look. Now, I will say, like I mentioned in one of my other previous videos, take these video comparisons with a grain of salt because they may not necessarily represent what results you will get, because this will all depend on what particular display you're using and what settings you're using, like contrast settings, brightness settings, and if you're capturing this on a PC, there's also a different color settings there you can adjust. So you can make this video, you can make this image look different if you want it to. If this looks too saturated, if it looks too bright, too sharp, or too bright, too sharp, too dark. You can change that. But these are the results that I'm getting with my particular setup, and it looks amazing. And honestly, I mean, this looks so good that I don't know if I'll even get the HD Retrovision component cables whenever they're finally released. I really don't see the need for it with these cables. So, and these cables are available now. Just make sure that you pre-order them right as soon as the pre-order window opens. But anyhow, guys, hopefully this gives you some kind of an idea of what to expect from these cables. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.